The large room was filled with voices. 12 different species sat in a circle, each one representing their homeworld. The walls were tall and made of crystal that reflected light in strange colors. This was the Galactic Council, the place where important decisions were made for thousands of planets. Ambassador Deho sat in a small section reserved for humans. He was 52 years old with gray hair at his temples and tired eyes. Next to him sat Dr. Minji, a scientist who studied alien life forms. Behind them stood Captain Hana, dressed in her military uniform, her face showing no emotion. Humans had been part of the galaxy for 40 years. 40 years of trying to make friends, share knowledge, and trade fairly. But today was different. Today, Deho would hear the final answer to humanity's request. High Arbiter Quellis stood at the center. He was an insect-like creature, very old, with many eyes that never seemed to blink. His voice was dry and cold. "We have heard the human petition," Quellis said. "You claim unfair treatment. You say other species block your trade routes. You say we do not give you equal access to resources." Deho stood up slowly. His hands held data tablets with evidence. Records of denied permits, lists of blocked shipments, documents showing how human merchants were forced to pay higher taxes than others. "That is correct," Deho said calmly. "We have followed every rule. We have contributed to galactic defense. We have shared our medical technology freely. We have asked only for fair treatment in return." A reptilian creature named Vextar laughed. His scales were dark green and his teeth were sharp. He represented one of the oldest species in the galaxy. "Fair treatment?" Vextar hissed. "You have been here for 40 years, 40. Do you know how long my people have been part of this council? 3,000 years. You are children, babies. You must learn patience." Other council members nodded in agreement. A floating jellyfish-like being made sounds that translated to approval. A bird creature ruffled its feathers and looked away from the humans. Only one voice spoke differently. Counselor Lisa, who had wings like an eagle and golden eyes, raised her hand. "Perhaps we should consider their request," Lisa said quietly. "The humans have contributed much. Their fusion technology powers 17 of our stations. Their medical treatments have saved millions. Maybe fairness does not require centuries of waiting." Vexatar turned to her with anger in his eyes. "You would reward their impatience? They are predators, violent creatures who barely left their own world. They should be grateful we allow them here at all." Deho felt something break inside him. Not anger. Something colder. He had spent years being polite. Years of smiling when others insulted his species. Years of accepting unfair treatment because he believed patience would win respect. He was wrong. "Let us vote," High Arbiter Quellis announced. "All in favor of granting the human petition for equal trade access and resource rights." One hand went up. Only Lissa. All opposed or abstaining. 11 hands, claws, and tentacles rose into the air. "The petition is denied," Quellis said without emotion. "We will table this matter for future consideration. Perhaps in another century." Some of the council members were already standing to leave. The matter was finished for them. Just another day of putting the young species in their place. Deho remained standing. His voice cut through the noise like a knife. Then humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. The room fell silent. Every eye turned to the human ambassador. Vextar laughed again. "You cannot be serious. Where will you go? You need us." Deho looked at him with cold eyes. "We asked for partnership. You offered nothing. We asked for fairness. You gave us contempt. Humanity will no longer participate in a system that treats us as servants waiting for permission to exist." He turned to Captain Hana and nodded. She tapped her wrist device. Across the galaxy, human military commanders received the same message at the same moment. "Recall all personnel. Close all joint operations. Return home." Dr. Minji gathered their documents. The 3 humans walked toward the exit. "This is foolish," Quellis called after them. "You will regret this decision." Deho stopped at the door. He did not turn around. "No," he said quietly. "You will." The doors closed behind them. The humans were gone, and the Galactic Council in their arrogance did not yet understand what they had just lost. 3 months had passed since the humans walked out of the council chambers. Admiral Tae-sung stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the final transport leave the defense station. The station had been built by 5 different species working together. Humans had provided the power systems and weapons. Now they were taking everything back. All personnel evacuated, Admiral, his second officer reported. The station is empty of human presence. Good, Taesung said. Set course for the next evacuation point. The ship turned away, leaving the station with barely enough power to keep the lights on. Without the human fusion cores, the aliens would need to find another way to generate energy. That was their problem now. Across the galaxy, the same scene repeated itself. On a mining colony, Engineer Jiwan carefully removed the fusion reactor that humans had installed. The alien workers watched in silence as she disconnected cables and sealed the core into a transport container. You cannot do this, the alien supervisor said. His skin was blue and his voice was high-pitched. We have quotas to meet. Without power, the mine cannot function. Jiwan did not look up from her work. You should have thought about that before voting against fair treatment. This reactor belongs to humanity. We built it. We maintained it. Now we are taking it home. The supervisor watched helplessly as the humans loaded their equipment onto ships. When they left, the mine went dark. Production stopped. Workers were sent home without pay. On a hospital world, Dr. Hyun-soo packed medical equipment into cases. Alien doctors stood nearby, their faces showing worry and confusion. Please, one of them begged. She had 4 arms and soft gray skin. We have patients who need your treatments. The plague in the southern continent is spreading. Your medicine is the only thing that works. Hyun-soo felt sympathy for the patients, but his orders were clear. I understand your situation, but humanity was told we were not valued members of the galactic community. We offered our knowledge freely. We asked only for respect. We received insults instead. But innocent people will die, the alien doctor said, her voice breaking. Yes, Hyun-soo said quietly. They will. And your leaders will be responsible, not us. He finished packing and left. The hospital would do what it could with older, less effective treatments. Many would survive, but many would not. In the trading lanes, merchant ships that once traveled safely under human military escort now found themselves alone. Pirate ships appeared within days. Without human warships patrolling the routes, there was nothing to stop them. A cargo captain sent a desperate message to the nearest human base. This is merchant vessel Stellar Wind. We are under attack by raiders. Request immediate assistance. The response came back cold and automated. Humanity is no longer providing security services to non-human vessels. Contact your local defense fleet. There was no local defense fleet. The human ships had been the defense fleet. The merchant captain watched his cargo being stolen, his crew taken hostage. Help would not come. On a mixed colony world, Administrator Soo-yeon oversaw the evacuation of human civilians. She had lived here for 12 years, made friends with the aliens, built a life. Now she was leaving it all behind. Her neighbor, a kind alien with tentacles instead of arms, came to say goodbye. I do not understand, the neighbor said sadly. We are friends. Why must you go? Soo-yeon smiled, but there were tears in her eyes. We are friends, you and I. But your leaders do not see humans as equals. They see us as servants. Until that changes, we cannot stay. But what will happen to us? The neighbor asked. I do not know, Soo-yeon said honestly. But you should ask your leaders that question. Ask them why they valued their pride more than cooperation. She boarded the transport. The engines roared to life. The ship lifted into the sky, taking the last humans away from the colony. Below, the aliens watched them go, slowly beginning to realize that something important had been lost. The final human diplomatic ship prepared to leave the council world. Soo-yeon, now reassigned to the diplomatic corps, sent one last broadcast to the galaxy. This is Administrator Soo-yeon Han, speaking for humanity one final time. For 40 years we offered friendship. We shared our technology, defended your worlds, healed your sick, and asked only for fair treatment in return. You chose to see us as lesser beings. You chose pride over partnership. We will remember what was offered and what was refused. Humanity withdraws. Do not contact us again unless you are prepared to offer the respect we deserve. The message ended. Human communications went silent across the galaxy. No more trade requests, no more military coordination, no more medical consultations. The humans were gone. And in the Galactic Council chambers, the members congratulated themselves on finally putting the arrogant young species in their place. They did not yet understand that they had made a terrible mistake. 6 months had passed. Counselor Lissa stood at her window, looking out at the city below. She could see the signs everywhere. The streets were darker at night because power was being rationed. The spaceport had half as many ships as before. The markets were empty of goods that used to flow freely through human-protected trade routes. Her assistant entered with a data pad. "Counselor, the latest reports." Lisa took the device and read through the numbers. Each one was worse than the last. Medical deaths up by 40%, trade down by 30%, pirate attacks up by 60%, energy shortages on 15 major worlds. "We must call an emergency session," she said. "The council needs to see these numbers." 2 hours later, the council gathered. Lissa presented her findings. She showed graphs and statistics. She played recordings of distress calls from merchant ships that had been attacked. She showed images of hospitals overflowing with sick patients who had no cure for their diseases. "The human withdrawal has created a crisis," Lisa said firmly. "We did not realize how much we depended on their technology, their medicine, their military protection." Vextar waved his clawed hand dismissively. "Temporary problems. We managed for thousands of years before the humans arrived. We will manage again, will we?" Lissa challenged. "Our fusion reactors are failing. We do not have the knowledge to fix them. Our doctors cannot cure the plague that is spreading through the Talus system. Human medicine could stop it in days. Without it, millions will die." "Then we develop our own solutions," another counselor said. "That will take years," Lissa said. "People are dying now. Economies are collapsing now." High Arbiter Quellis spoke in his cold, dry voice. "What do you suggest, Counselor Lissa? That we beg the humans to return?" "I suggest we acknowledge our mistake," Lissa said. "We treated them unfairly. We insulted them. We took their contributions for granted. Now we are paying the price." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Pride was a powerful force among the old species. To admit they were wrong, especially to such a young species, was unthinkable. The meeting ended with no decision. The counselors returned to their worlds, still convinced the problems would solve themselves. On the frontier worlds, things were much worse. General Vax stood in his command center, watching the defensive shields flicker and fade. His station was running on 40% power. The weapon systems were offline half the time, and worst of all, raiders had noticed. "Sir, we are detecting 15 hostile ships approaching," his officer reported. "They are ignoring our warnings." Vax knew why. The pirates had learned that the frontier defenses were weak now. They had learned that human warships no longer patrolled these sectors. They were testing the defenses, seeing how much they could get away with. "Send a distress signal to any nearby human vessels," Vax ordered. The communication officer sent the message. A response came back within minutes. It was automated, cold, and final. "Humanity is no longer involved in galactic defense operations. Please contact your local security forces." Vax stared at the screen. He was the local security force, and he was about to lose this battle. The pirates attacked. With shields at low power and weapons malfunctioning, Vax could barely defend the station. 3 civilian colonies in the sector fell that week. The population was taken as slaves or killed. No help came. Trademaster Quellen sat in his office reviewing financial reports. He was a merchant who had traded across the galaxy for 200 years. He had always made good profits. But these last 6 months had been a disaster. His ships were being attacked constantly. Insurance costs had tripled. Many trade routes were simply too dangerous to use anymore, and the goods that did get through cost much more because of the extra security needed. His business was dying, and he knew why. The human military escorts that once made trade safe were gone. The human merchants who competed with him were gone too, but that did not help. Without safe routes, nobody could trade successfully. He thought about sending a message to the humans asking them to reconsider. But he remembered how the council had treated them. He remembered Vextar's mocking laughter. He knew the humans would not listen to individual requests. The problems continued to grow. On the Talus system, the plague spread unchecked. Millions were sick. Thousands died each day. The alien doctors tried everything they knew, but nothing worked as well as human medicine had. On industrial worlds, factories shut down because the power generators kept failing. The aliens tried to repair them, but human fusion technology was complex. They made things worse. On farming planets, crops rotted in the fields because there were no ships to transport them. The human-protected trade routes had made food distribution efficient, Now planets with too much food watched it spoil while other planets starved. Counselor Lissa gathered all the data. She prepared another presentation for the council. This time she included video messages from dying patients, from terrified colonists, from merchants whose livelihoods had been destroyed. She stood before the council again. We cannot ignore this any longer. The humans were not just another member species. They were the foundation of our modern galaxy, and we threw them away because of pride. Some counselors looked uncomfortable now. The numbers were too big to dismiss. The deaths were too many to ignore, but still they did nothing. To act would be to admit they were wrong. And that was something their pride would not allow, not yet. 1 year had passed since humanity walked away. The galaxy was falling apart. High Arbiter Quellis could no longer deny the truth. His own world was experiencing power blackouts. His people were hungry because trade ships no longer arrived. And yesterday he received news that his grandson had died from a disease that human medicine could have cured easily. The emergency council meeting was different from the others. The counselors looked tired and worried. Even Vextar seemed less arrogant than before. His homeworld was in chaos. Riots had broken out when the power grid failed completely. Quellis stood at the center of the chamber. We must face reality. 4 sectors have experienced complete economic collapse. 12 worlds are reporting mass starvation. The plague in the Talus system has killed 8 million people. Pirate attacks have increased by 60%. We need the humans. The words were bitter in his mouth, but they were true. Then we send a delegation, Vextar said. His voice had lost its mocking tone. We apologize. We offer them better terms. Will they listen? Another counselor asked. Lissa shook her head. I do not know. We insulted them deeply. We treated them as inferiors. We only want them back now because we are suffering. That is not the foundation for real partnership. We have no choice, Quellis said. Prepare a delegation. We will go to human space and request their help. The delegation was assembled quickly. 5 senior counselors, including Vextar, traveled to the edge of human territory. They sent a message requesting permission to enter. Then they waited. Hours passed. Finally, a response came. They were given coordinates for a meeting point just inside human space. When they arrived, a single human ship was waiting for them. Ambassador Jiwan stepped out of the airlock. She was younger than Deho had been, perhaps 40 years old. Her eyes were cold and her expression showed no warmth. She did not smile. She did not offer the traditional gestures of greeting. You wanted to speak, Jiwan said simply. I am listening. Quellis stepped forward. For the first time in his very long life, he felt small. Ambassador, we come to acknowledge our mistakes. We treated humanity unfairly. We were wrong to dismiss your contributions. We were wrong to deny your petition for equal treatment. Jiwan's expression did not change. Continue. Vextar spoke next, his voice humble for the first time anyone could remember. Our worlds are suffering. We need medical assistance. We need help with our power systems. We need security for our trade routes. We are asking for your help. You are asking for help, Jiwan repeated slowly, not offering partnership, not proposing equal cooperation. Asking for help because you are desperate. The counselors looked at each other uncomfortably. We would be willing to offer better terms than before, Quellis said. Equal representation on the council. Fair trade agreements. Whatever you need. Whatever we need, Jiwan said. What we needed was respect. We offered that respect to you freely. We asked for it in return. You laughed at us. You called us primitive. You told us to wait centuries before expecting fair treatment. We were wrong, Vextar admitted, his voice breaking slightly. Please, my world is dying. Millions have already perished. Jiwan looked at him for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was not cruel, but it was absolutely firm. Ambassador Deho tried to prevent this. He warned you. He showed you evidence of unfair treatment and asked for simple fairness. You voted 11-1 against even hearing our case. You dismissed us. You mocked us. And now, when you are suffering the consequences of your choices, you come asking for help. She paused, letting the words sink in. Humanity is not interested in being called upon only when we are needed. We are not tools to be used when convenient and dismissed when not. The time for negotiation was a year ago. You chose to end that opportunity. Now you must live with that choice. But innocent people are dying, Lissa said quietly. Children, elderly, people who had nothing to do with the council's decisions. Yes, Jiwan agreed. They are. That is tragic. And it is the responsibility of your leaders who made these choices, not ours. So humanity will do nothing? Quellis asked, his voice hollow. Humanity will focus on humanity, Jiwan said. Our worlds are prospering. Our people are healthy. Our economy is strong. We have built what you refuse to let us build within the galactic community. We have no interest in returning to a system that does not value us. Vextar's legs seemed to give out. He sat down heavily, his face showing despair. Please, he whispered. I beg you. Ji-Won looked at the proud counselor, now broken and begging. She felt no satisfaction in seeing him this way, but she also felt no obligation to save him from the consequences of his own arrogance. This meeting is over, she said. Return to your worlds. Tell your people that the galaxy chose this path. Humanity did not abandon you. You abandoned humanity first. The difference is that you needed us more than we needed you. You simply refused to see it until it was too late. She turned and walked back to her ship. The airlock closed behind her. The human vessel powered up its engines and departed, leaving the counselors floating in space alone with their failure. On the journey back, none of the counselors spoke. They had come hoping for mercy. They had received justice instead. And justice, they were learning, was much harsher than mercy would have been. The galaxy would have to save itself, or learn to live with the consequences of its pride. 18 months had passed since humanity withdrew. President Yuna sat in her office on the human capital world, reviewing reports from across human space. Every number told the same story. Humanity was thriving. New colonies were being established on worlds that had previously been claimed by galactic species. With no one to stop them, humans expanded freely. Trade between human worlds had increased by 200%. The military had grown stronger, with new ships being built every month. Technology advanced rapidly now that human scientists focused only on human needs. Admiral Tae-sung entered the office. His uniform was crisp, his bearing confident. President, the new defense fleet is ready. We now have complete security across all human territories. Excellent, Yuna said. And the economy? Growing faster than projected. Without having to subsidize galactic infrastructure, we have invested heavily in our own development. Our people are healthier, wealthier, and safer than they have ever been. Yuna nodded. It was strange how well things had gone. For 40 years, humans had struggled within the galactic system, always fighting for recognition, always being held back. Now on their own, they flourished. What news from the galaxy? She asked. Admiral Tae-sung pulled up a holographic display. It showed a map of galactic space. Large sections were marked in red. Complete economic collapse in these regions. Political instability spreading. Several species are on the brink of extinction because of the medical crisis. The Galactic Council itself is fragmenting. Member species are blaming each other for the disaster. And they still have not tried to contact us again? Yuna asked, not officially. We intercept occasional messages, but nothing formal. Their pride still prevents them from genuine reconciliation. Dr. Minji entered next. She had been promoted to Chief Diplomatic Advisor. President, we have received something different this time. A petition from the Reformed Galactic Council. Reformed? Yuna asked with interest. Counselor Lisa led a movement to remove the old leadership. Vextar and several others have been voted out. The new council acknowledges full responsibility for the crisis. They are not asking for humanity to return to the galactic community. Then what are they asking? Minji displayed the message. Yuna read it carefully. The tone was completely different from before. There was no demand, no expectation, just a humble request for humanitarian aid. They acknowledge they do not deserve our help, Minji explained. They simply ask that we consider providing medical aid to the plague worlds, food shipments to starving colonies. They promise to expect nothing in return. No political demands, no request for us to rejoin their system. Yuna sat back in her chair. This was the moment she had been preparing for. She looked at her advisors. What do you recommend? Admiral Tae-sung spoke first. We should maintain complete isolation. The galaxy made its choice. They insulted us, dismissed us, and only want us back because they are suffering. Helping them now rewards their bad behavior. Ambassador Ji-won, who had joined them by video link, gave a different view. I agree with measured caution, but not complete isolation. We could provide limited humanitarian aid without political re-engagement. Help the innocent while making it clear we will not rejoin their system. Dr. Minji added her perspective. The plague is killing millions. Many of those dying are children who had nothing to do with the Council's decisions. We have the medicine to save them. The question is not whether they deserve our help. The question is what kind of civilization we want to be. Yuna listened to each viewpoint. She understood all of them. The anger was justified. The caution was wise. The compassion was human. Finally, she made her decision. We will provide selective humanitarian aid, she announced. Medical shipments to plague worlds. Food to starving colonies, but nothing more. No military support. No technology sharing. No political engagement. And we do this on our terms, with our own people controlling distribution. The galaxy will receive no say in how or when we help. And if they ask for more, Admiral Taesung asked, then we remind them that they are receiving charity, not partnership. We help because we choose to, not because they deserve it. And if they want true cooperation in the future, they will need to demonstrate real change. Not just words. Not just temporary humility born from desperation. Real lasting change in how they view and treat other species. Yuna stood and looked at the map of galactic space. So much suffering. So much pride that had led to disaster. Prepare the aid missions, she ordered. And prepare a message for the Galactic Council. Let them know that humanity remembers both their insults and their suffering. We will help because mercy is a human value. But trust must be earned, and that will take much more than words. The first human medical ships entered galactic space a week later. They went directly to the plague worlds, ignoring all Council authority. Human doctors set up treatment centers and began saving lives. They worked efficiently and professionally. They asked for nothing in return. On the Talus system, Dr. Hyun-soo returned with a full medical team. The same alien doctor who had begged him not to leave 18 months ago met him at the hospital. You came back, she said, tears in her 4 eyes. Thank you. Thank you, Hyun-soo nodded. We came to help the sick, not to rejoin your system. Make sure your leaders understand the difference. Within days, the plague was being controlled. Human medicine worked as effectively as it always had. Lives were saved by the thousands. Food shipments arrived at starving colonies. Power technicians helped stabilize critical systems, though they refused to fully repair the fusion reactors. That, they explained, would require a different kind of relationship. The galaxy was grateful. But they were also learning a hard lesson. Humanity had the power now. Humanity had the choice, and humanity would not be taken for granted again. The balance of power had shifted, and it would never shift back. 2 years had passed since humanity walked away. 6 months had passed since the humanitarian missions began. The galaxy was no longer collapsing, but it was forever changed. And now the question everyone asked was whether humanity would ever truly return. Ambassador Daeho had retired after the withdrawal, choosing to spend time with his family. But President Yuna had called him back for one final mission. He stood now at the edge of the council chamber, waiting to be announced. The chamber looked different. High Arbiter Lyssa sat at the center now, her golden eyes watchful and intelligent. Fextar was gone, removed from power by his own people after his world nearly collapsed. The other counselors who had mocked humanity were gone too. New faces sat in their places, younger members who had seen the consequences of arrogance. The council recognizes Ambassador Daeho of humanity, Lyssa announced. Daeho walked to the center. He remembered standing here 2 years ago being dismissed and insulted. Today felt very different. Ambassador, humanity has provided assistance to our worlds for 6 months. You have saved millions of lives. You have asked for nothing in return. On behalf of the reformed Galactic Council, I express our deepest gratitude. Daeho nodded politely. Humanity helps because mercy is our value, not because we seek your approval. Lyssa accepted the words without offense. I understand. However, the Council wishes to discuss the possibility of formal relations being restored. We have prepared terms that we believe address the concerns humanity raised 2 years ago. She displayed a document on the holographic projector. Daeho read through it carefully. Equal representation on the Council. Binding trade agreements with no discrimination. Access to resources based on need and contribution, not seniority. Formal protections against species-based prejudice. It was everything humanity had asked for 2 years ago. Everything they had been denied. These terms are acceptable in principle, Daeho said. However, humanity requires additional conditions. What conditions? Lyssa asked. First, a formal apology inscribed in galactic records. Not a private statement, but a public acknowledgement that the Council was wrong to dismiss humanity's petition and wrong to treat us as inferiors. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably. To publicly admit error would be humiliating. Second, Deho continued, reparations for the economic damages humanity suffered during years of unfair trade practices. We calculate this at approximately 2 trillion credits. A counselor from a wealthy species spoke up. That is a substantial sum. Yes, Deho agreed. It is. It is also substantially less than the galaxy has already lost due to economic collapse. Consider it an investment in better relations. Third, all agreements must be enforceable with real consequences for violation. No more empty promises that can be ignored when convenient. And fourth, Deho said, his voice growing harder, humanity will observe a trial period of 5 years. During this time, we will participate in limited council activities. We will monitor how the galaxy treats not just us but all younger species. If we see the old patterns returning, if we see arrogance and dismissiveness returning, we will withdraw again, and next time we will not come back. The chamber fell silent. These were harsh terms, but everyone present knew they were fair. Lisa looked at the other counselors. One by one they nodded. They had learned the lesson. Pride was expensive. Arrogance was deadly, and respect could not be demanded, only earned. The council accepts these terms, Lisa announced. We will draft the formal apology for Galactic Record. Reparations will be arranged. The binding agreements will be enacted, and humanity will be welcomed back as true equals, subject to the trial period you have specified. She stood and walked to where Deho waited. She extended her wing in the traditional gesture of her people, a sign of deep respect. Ambassador Deho, I voted for your petition 2 years ago. I was the only one. I have regretted my people's choices every day since. I cannot undo what was done. But I promise you as High Arbiter that the galaxy will not repeat these mistakes. Deho looked at her for a long moment. He saw sincerity in her eyes. He also saw the weight of responsibility she carried. High Arbiter Lisa, you stood alone when it mattered. That is not forgotten. Humanity will return to the Council, but we return as partners, not supplicants. We return with eyes open, watching carefully. Trust is not given freely anymore. It must be earned with every decision, every vote, every interaction. I understand, Lisa said, and I accept those terms. The formal vote was taken. The new agreements were approved unanimously. The apology was drafted and sealed into Galactic Record, where it would stand for all time as a reminder of what pride had cost. As Deho left the chamber, he sent a message to President Yuna. The Council has agreed to our terms. Humanity will return, but we will never forget what it took to earn respect. Dr. Minji met him outside. Do you think they have truly changed? She asked. Deho considered the question. Some have. Some have not. But the ones in power now understand what is at stake. They saw their worlds burning. They watched their people die. They felt helpless and desperate. That is a teacher more effective than any words. And if they forget, then we remind them, Deho said quietly, that humanity knows how to walk away. And next time we might not come back. The galaxy had paid the price for its arrogance. Now it would have the chance to build something better, but only if it remembered the lessons learned in fire and darkness. 5 years had passed since humanity returned to the Galactic Council. The trial period was almost over. Ambassador Minji stood in her office, now Chief Diplomat for Humanity, reviewing the assessment that would determine whether humans remained part of the galactic community. The galaxy had changed. Trade flowed freely again, but now it was regulated by strict fairness standards. Medical cooperation was strong, with human techniques being taught to alien doctors. Defense stations operated efficiently with human fusion technology that was now properly maintained. Most importantly, younger species were treated with respect. The old system of making new members wait centuries for fair treatment was gone. Now contribution mattered more than age. But had it changed enough? That was what Minji needed to determine. Her door chimed. Captain Hana entered, now promoted to Admiral and Commander of the Joint Defense Fleet. She had worked closely with alien military forces for 5 years, training them, coordinating with them. Ambassador, I have completed my assessment of military cooperation, Hana said, placing a data pad on the desk. The alien species have been reliable partners. They follow protocols. They respect our command structure when we lead operations. I recommend continued military cooperation. Minji nodded and made a note. Any concerns? Some older officers still show resistance to taking orders from younger species. But it is getting better. The younger generation does not have the same prejudices. Later that day, High Arbiter Lissa requested a private meeting. They met in a quiet garden away from the formal chambers. Ambassador Minji, I know the trial period ends soon. I know humanity will make a decision about your continued participation. Before you decide, I want to show you something. Lisa brought up images on a portable display. They showed young aliens from various species working together. This is the new generation. They are learning cooperation from the start. They study human history, including what happened 7 years ago. They learn it as a cautionary tale about the cost of arrogance. That is good, Minji said. But education alone is not enough. What matters is whether the system itself has changed. It has, Lissa assured her. The laws are different now. The protections are in place. But more than that, people remember. They remember the darkness when humans left. They remember watching their loved ones die because pride was more important than cooperation. That memory keeps us honest. Minji met with the council formally 1 week later. The chamber was full. A young counselor named Tai Min sat in the human delegation section. He was only 30 years old, representing the new generation of human diplomats who had grown up during the withdrawal and return. The trial period has concluded, Minji announced. Humanity has evaluated the progress made by the Galactic Council over the past 5 years. We have assessed trade practices, diplomatic relations, military cooperation, and treatment of younger species. The chamber was completely silent. Everyone knew what was at stake. We find that significant progress has been made, Minji continued. The systems that allowed discrimination have been dismantled. Protections for all species are in place and being enforced. More importantly, we have seen genuine change in attitudes, particularly among younger members of the galactic community. She paused, letting the tension build. Therefore, humanity has decided to continue our participation in the Galactic Council, not as supplicants, not as junior members waiting for acceptance, but as equal partners. Relief swept through the chamber. Several counselors visibly relaxed. Lissa smiled, her golden eyes bright with emotion. But Counselor Taemin stood up. He was young, but his voice carried authority. The galaxy has learned an important lesson, Taemin said, but humanity wants to ensure this lesson is never forgotten. So let me be clear about one thing. We walked away once. We can do it again. The room went quiet again. If the old patterns return, if arrogance replaces cooperation, if any species is treated as inferior simply because they are young, humanity will notice, and we will act. We no longer need the galaxy. We proved that during our time apart. The galaxy needs us more than we need the galaxy. That is not a threat. It is simply the truth. We understand, Counselor, Lisa said firmly, and we accept that responsibility. The galaxy paid a terrible price for its mistakes. We will not pay that price again. That night, alarms suddenly blared across the galaxy. Unknown ships had appeared at the frontier. They were massive, unlike anything anyone had seen before. They ignored all communication attempts, and they were heading toward populated systems. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Admiral Hana brought tactical displays showing the approaching threat. Extragalactic invaders. They are well armed and moving fast. We need to respond immediately. High Arbiter Lysa looked to the human delegation. Will humanity stand with us? Ambassador Minji stood without hesitation. We will, not because you demand it, not because you expect it, but because we choose to defend what we have built together. This galaxy is our home too now, and we protect our home. The combined fleet assembled faster than ever before. Human ships took positions alongside alien vessels. Admiral Hana coordinated the defense from her flagship, with alien commanders following her strategies without question. The battle was fierce. The invaders were powerful, but the galaxy fought together as true partners. Human technology and alien courage combined into something greater than either alone. When the invaders retreated, having learned that this galaxy was defended by united species, celebrations erupted across every world. In the council chamber, Counselor Taemin addressed the assembly one final time. Today we won because we fought as equals, because we trusted each other, because we remembered what cooperation truly means. 7 years ago, This galaxy almost destroyed itself through pride. Today it saved itself through unity. He paused, looking at each counselor in turn. Humanity walked away once to teach the galaxy a lesson. We returned because you learned it. Remember this moment. Remember what you almost lost. Remember what you gained by choosing respect over arrogance. High Arbiter Lisa nodded slowly. We will remember, Counselor. The galaxy paid the price, and we will never forget what that price was. The chamber fell silent in agreement. The galaxy had learned, and humanity had taught them well. Not through words, but through action. Not through violence, but through the simple power of walking away when not respected. And then, when respect was earned through the grace of choosing to return. That was the true strength of humanity, knowing when to leave and knowing when to stay.